Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all living the American dream. I'm super excited for today's video because I'm going to be doing a story time, and I'm going to be talking about the most transcendental thing I've ever done. So first, some background knowledge. I've been going to this camp called Hidden Valley for a very long time, and once you're 15, then you're too old to be a regular camper, but you're too young to be a counselor. So they have these things called teen programs. And first session, they offer one called Community, and that is what I will be talking about today. Basically, what you do is you move into this house called Blodgett, and this house has no running water or electricity until you turn on the propane tank. Now, this tank, obviously, it runs on propane, which means that we can only fill it up every so often. So we had half an hour in the morning for people to take showers and for people to wash dishes, and half an hour at night for people to take showers and for people to wash dishes. So it was basically like indoor camping. It was fun, but then what we would do is we would go out into Maine. The house was in Maine, and we would do community service. These are all things that we knew going into the program, but it was still very shocking to just all of a sudden go into the house and it be nighttime and not have any lights, and trying to get ready for bed in the dark, and just things that but you don't fully process it until they're happening to you. Some of the things that I had to do while I was living in Blodgett were toilets. We either did not flush them, or if they were getting too full, then we would flush them. But if the generator was not on, then we always had water in the bathtub, not drinkable, but it was there. And we would just get these big buckets and fill up the back tank of the toilet with these buckets. If you didn't want to deal with that, then you could always go and use the outhouse. I hated the outhouse, but there were some people there that actually really loved it. It was basically, they got like a toilet seat and put it on a dirt hole in the ground and made like a little shed around it. So that was the outhouse. Community service-wise, we really did everything. We went to homeless shelters, we went to farms, we went to retirement homes, we camped at Acadia National Park for a few days, and we helped maintain some of the trails there. So we really did everything when it came to that as well. Another thing about community that I really liked is that none of us had any of our electronic devices, which makes sense because we wouldn't be able to charge them. But we all really had to, in all of the free time that we had, we really had to get to know each other. And I still talk to people from there now, and I did this a few years ago. I did it 2 summers in a row. I learned so many fun card games. We started doing some journaling. I read some books for fun. Just lots of cool things that I wouldn't normally do. One aspect of transcendentalism that really crossed over into community was the aspect of communal living. So there were 6 girls and 4 boys my first year, and the second year there were 10 girls. Some of my favorite times with these people were on their van rides to different places that we were going to do community service. We named our van, her name was Hydra, and we never had assigned seats, but we sort of sat in one place, and it sort of got shifted around at the beginning, but we ended up always sitting in the same spots every time. It was like an unspoken rule. So I was sitting right next to my 2 best friends that were there, Mark and Gabby, and then Ty was also back there, so we were in the back row. And then I had some friends right in front of me. It was just really fun. We We wrote our cabin cheer, which is something that the camp does every year, where that was really cool. While we were just like sitting in hydro one day, we would like try and play card games like in a moving van, which never went well. We had a lot of fun in the van. One of my favorite things that we did was visit a permaculture farm. Permaculture means permanent agriculture, so it's very exceptionalist way of thinking. It's where you basically, as the farmer, you're trying to make it where there's no nature growing. You're trying to manipulate it to a way that it would actually grow in nature, so that it will grow great while you're there, but also for hundreds of years after you're gone, which is why it's permanent agriculture. While I was there, my favorite thing that I did was I got to just go and play with these little baby goats. They needed their cage cleaned, so they had like 2 of us go in there and basically just hold like the little baby goats, which is really fun. I was reminded of this experience a lot this past year in school because we started learning about the Native Americans and how they valued sustainability. And permaculture is basically sustainability, so I feel like it's very similar to what they were doing. It makes me really sad to think about how their life could go from this great agricultural, sustainable lifestyle to having to go live on these reservations. The life on the reservations was not good. This is a single story point of view that they're all just like drunks and poor, but as we learned in school this year in the book The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven, it is a single story, but it is also true in many cases, which is how it came to be. It is not true in every case, however, which is important to know. On the permaculture farm that I visited in community, they had this little boy named Jonah, and he was just like the sweetest little kid you've ever met. He wanted to play cards with us. He wanted to like give us all of like their chocolate milk that they got from the goats, that they made chocolate milk. The goats didn't just give chocolate milk. But when I am thinking about how the Native Americans had to go to these reservations and send their kids off to these schools where they weren't allowed to practice their culture, it made me think about how, like, what if that had happened to Jonah? Because with the Native Americans, like, it's awful to think about, but to think about it with someone that I've actually met and made a connection with is horrible. Anyway, I've never felt more connected to nature as I did when I was doing community. I found myself actually wanting to go outside and wanting to go on walks and hikes and play like kickball out in the yard with everybody, which I don't still feel like that right now. But I'm sure if it was warm and I was back in Blodgett with all of my friends, I would be all over that. So that's why when we were doing the Transcendentalism unit this year, I could really understand where Thoreau was coming from. Well, we didn't really focus on the religious or spiritual part of Transcendentalism while we were there over the summer. The nature part was definitely there, is very prominent. And I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, that's my transcendental story. I hope you enjoyed this story time. I hope that you will leave a like and comment down below, subscribe and hit those post notifications, and don't forget to keep on living the American dream.